Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, hosted by Bruce Hutchin, episode number 261. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchin. We're heading to Madison, Wisconsin, and we're going to connect with Mark Boardman. Mark Boardman is the marketing director at Vortex Optics. Vortex Optics had proven to me in August during my sheep hunt that their customer service is simply unparalleled. Unfortunately, I bumped a tripod and the binoculars fell on rocky ground, a set of 15 by 50 HD Vipers, and they just wouldn't refocus. And it was a hard knock. And so I get down to the base camp, shipped them out to Madison, Wisconsin the next day. And within 4 business days, I had them back in my hands. I did call them, tell them what I was doing, hunting sheep, and I really needed the optics to work. And they said, not a problem. We'll take care of them as soon as they came. And they did exactly that. So shout out to Mark Boardman and Vortex Optics. Hope you enjoyed the show, folks. Hey, listeners, don't forget to text 33444. Food Plot for your free Food Plot ebook. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. Folks, we're heading to Madison, Wisconsin, and we're going to be talking with Mark Boardman of Vortex Optics. And I just spent I spent 22 days with Vortex Optics in the mountains of Colorado on a sheep hunt. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But Mark, welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Bruce. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and probably, I don't know how many months ago, I think it was a couple of years ago, I picked up a Razor HD spotting scope, and you've just informed me that you got a new HD coming out, new Razor coming out. Tell us about that. I've always been, super excited about the original Razor, and this year, it actually was kind of a mid-year release, but we introduced, the latest greatest version of the Razor HD spotting scope series, and man, I've fallen in love with this thing from the start. Had a couple opportunities to use it this year thus far, and it's just performed phenomenally. Like you said, I always loved the original, and this one is I like it even more, which I didn't think was possible. So, a couple differences. The original Razor HD had a dual focus, and this one, the new version, has like a helical style focus, so it's more integrated, I guess, into the body of the spotting scope. So it's super streamlined, easy to get purchase on, easy to focus. Optically, it kills it. It's off the charts. I think if a person has a need for a top tier spotter, I'd set these new Razors next to anything that's out there. That's for sure. No, where did you field test it?
So I got a couple opportunities this fall. One in August, headed up to southeast Alaska with a buddy of mine who lives up in Ketchikan, and we chased Sitka blacktails up in the Alpine. So toted it around up there, and I can tell you, rest assured, one thing about it, it is waterproof. We got rained on pretty much all day, every day, and even managed when we were finally getting out a day later than scheduled because of weather. We ended up dunking it in the lake before we shoved it in the airplane. So it's still kicking. So, but optically, we got a chance to break it out when we hit the summit of the mountain, and it was just an asset to have up there, as well as like I said, it just performed exceptionally. And then
about 2 weeks ago, was in Montana with some other buddies, chasing elk around, and got to use it out there as well. And it was just phenomenal. So just a couple real world tests under my belt with it this fall, but thus far, man, it's exceptional.
Now, you said it's waterproof. Now, do you put that neoprene sleeve on it to keep it, safe if it bounces off rocks? So,
I didn't. So I was just running it, running it as is. I will say, so at this point in time, we don't have, a neoprene cover. Now, it does come with a soft case, a view-through soft case, which I do, I guess probably about 50-50. If I think I'm going to be in some really rough terrain, I'll keep it in my pack. But then when I pull it out to use it, I find it more convenient just to have the entire spotting scope out on the tripod. But it does make it nice for packing and protection.
Talk to me about the weight, because I know with my hunt, 22 days, carrying a couple of different pairs. I'd have my pair on my chest, my binoculars, and then I'd have the Razor HE in my backpack, or if I had my Sherpa there, he was carrying it. But talk about the weight, because that does make a significant difference, especially in the high country. And by high country, I hunted over 12,000 feet. So talk to me about that.
So, yeah, I mean, on any backpack hunt or where you're going to be, covering considerable ground, overnighting, weight and space are always considerations, right? So when selecting a spotting scope, I always try to tell a person, it's a balancing act, right? Optics are give and take. If you have a larger spotter with a larger objective, a greater magnification range, you're going to be able to do more with it, generally, right? But that spotter's not going to do you any good if you leave it at the pickup because you don't want to carry it, So the new Razor comes with four different versions if you include, angled and straight models. And then there's a 65 millimeter objective version, which is it's a 22 to 48 by 65. So on the low end, it has a 22 power magnification. On the high end, it's 48. And then there's a 27 to 60 by 85. So on the low end, it's going to be 27 power. On the high end, 60 power, and it has an 85 millimeter objective. But it all depends on what you're doing with it, and what what you're comfortable carrying. I know guys that do extreme backpack hunts, and they're like, nope, I'm carrying the 85. It's worth it for me to have that optical, the increased power and the larger objective. And then I know other guys that are like, nope, I'm trying to go light and fast, and the a little bit smaller spotter is completely sufficient optically for what I do, as well as saves me a little weight and a little space.
Thanks for that. And I'm going to unpack that a little bit. But folks, with my Razor, there were places that I could glass 3 miles away. I put it on a window mount, and I could sit in my truck, and the wind's blowing as fast and hard as you want. And, we had snow, fog, rain, everything up in the high country in August. I got pictures. The whole landscape is covered in snow. But having said that, from a window mount 3 miles away with an adaptation that you can get from Vortex for your iPhone, I'm taking pictures of rams, and you can make them out. It isn't just a blur, look like another rock. You actually can see them. And I think, Mark, I might have sent you one of those, but none the case, I will when I write my article. But let's take apart right now. Okay, why would I want the 20 by 48 versus the 27 by 60 and the objective lens? And let's talk about the light gathering potential or abilities of both setups.
So, and again, really, it's going to come down to, a person's needs. What types of landscapes are you typically hunting? Are you glassing several miles away? Are you glassing, hundreds of yards away, right? When are you typically using your spotter? Are you finding that you are using it, extremely early and late in the day? Then you may definitely want to have, a little bit more light gathering capability. And the biggest thing that's going to dictate how much light is making it to your eyeball is the objective diameter, and then and the anti-reflective coatings that are going to be on each lens. So with the 22 to 48, it's got a 65 millimeter objective, right? So that's smaller than the 85. So, on those power ranges, up to 48, you are going to have, less light gathering capability than the 85. But, like we talked about, you got to be, willing, if you've got the space or the weight for the 85, or maybe you aren't going that far from the truck, or you're just willing to carry. I mean, it's not exceptionally, heavy by any means. I guess I feel like I'm talking like it is, but I'm just, I hate to.
What does it weigh? Just tell the listeners what they both weigh if you have that data.
They're not too far apart. The 85 is going to come in at 65.6. And then the 65 is 56.8, so,
and those are ounces, folks.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So those are ounces. So, like I said, it's just going to depend on the person needs. They're both phenomenal. I would look at primarily, what are you personally going to be doing with it? If you're glassing from the pickup, 90% of the time, bam, get that 85, for sure. Right. I guess you could argue it anyway. I mean, probably the best thing a person can do, I'd go try and find a retail store, take them both outside, feel them, if see how they fit in the pack, are they going to fit in your pocket configuration or how you typically like to carry a spotting scope, that can come into play. And think of the landscapes that you're going to be using it in and how far you're going to need to be looking.
Now, folks, the reason I wanted to have this discussion with Mark, one, I wanted to thank him for help sponsoring my hunt with Vortex, but also in the whitetail world, whitetails are getting everywhere. I just talked to a guy in Arizona. He's hunting coos deer. Mm-hmm. Well, that isn't a whitetail, but it is a deer. I was hunting up, as I said, above 12,000 feet, and I saw some majestic mule deer in the alpine. I mean, just off the charts. If I just had my great binoculars, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, I wouldn't be able to see the detail. I wouldn't be able to see how they were set up, their frame, if they had any extra points, if they were typical, non-typical, blah, blah, blah. They're better than willows, blah, blah, blah. And so you have to pick that deer apart. Okay, now let's bring it back to Wisconsin, Iowa, or any whitetail state in the country. There's a trend, and hopefully I'll get some people on the show that will talk about it in depth because they're doing it. But they're long distance scouting for whitetails. Yes, they have the trail cameras, but I know at our farm where I hunt along the Bear River River, and folks, this is my 50th anniversary. I started hunting this farm in 1966. So the tradition of hunting lives in me. It's unbelievable the experience I've had. But having said that, there's places on that farm I can set up in my pickup truck, and I can cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fields.
Yep.
From within a mile to a quarter mile away. And any buck that comes out, early gray light, late in the day, I can sit there in my truck, and then I can put my adaptation for my iPhone that Vortex handles, and then I can snap pictures. So I'm doing two things. One, we got trail cameras out. We've been hunting it for a long time, so we know basically where the deer are moving, but we don't know the age class we have. And so we kind of want to do an inventory. Every single year we do this. We take inventory of the bucks on the farm that we see, and there's always some mature bucks that we never see. They're not on trail cameras, and they're not, we never see them, but every year, last year or 2 years ago, we put a 160 down. I took a 135, but they were mature deers. I should say it backwards. Both deer were over 4.5 years old. And so we never saw those deer, but they were there. I killed them out of a blind. I've killed lots of deer out of them. The 135, and then my buddy, killed one just below me, less than a couple hundred yards on a pinch point, and he killed the 160. And we never saw those deer. So it's not a foolproof method, but there's places that I can sit on a bluff or in a cornfield that's elevated, and I can once it's cut, I can cover a quarter mile again to over a mile away, and I can count the time. So don't minimize the use of these quality optics in Wisconsin, because long distance scouting might be one of the best secret tips you can have, because you don't go into your stand. You know where your stands are. The deer know where your stands are, but you don't go in there. You're taking inventory of the available age classes on your land. Your thoughts, Mark?
So no, I think absolutely. If you have, a property or spot where you can sit back just like you're describing, giant asset. You think about it, that's like having a trail camera that covers, a giant expanse of an entire property. Granted, you got to be there to do it, right? You got to take the time and be out there at prime time and watch those deer come out, which is part of the fun anyway, right? But you're just going to be able to cover ground. You're going to be able to, like you said, you'll be able to take inventory of those bucks, and with the phone adapter, you're able to get a picture of them as well. So, man, I think, and just as you talk, zero impact, you're not going in there, those bucks they never know you're looking at them, but you're able to get, find places, where they're coming out, trails, they're coming out. And if you got into season that opens up early, you might be able to capitalize on an early pattern there as well.
Yeah, and well said. And like I said, that I'm gonna develop this more, because we're getting really smart as hunters. There's so much data available. Just Google whitetail, and you can go on for days. But if you've been hunting, as I have, an area for a number of years, you always wonder, okay, where's Mr. Wonderful? And I know there's good genes there, because Eddie has a 173 class deer that he took, right not 100 yards from his barn. Funny story. We'll talk about that at a different time. But he took it. And he's got it in his house. So the genes on this farm are there. The genes along the Bear River are there. No, it's not Buffalo County, but you'd be surprised what you never see on your land. I don't care if you're hunting swamp or coulees or ridges. It doesn't matter. There's some big bucks that we never see, because they just know. They've lived there.
Oh, yeah.
And they just know when you're going to the point stand or the concussion stand or the Taj Mahal. The stands go on. They know that, because those stands have been there forever. Why? Because they produce deer every single year. And but you got to change it up. And one of the ways I'm changing it up is I'm not going in the woods, because I know where my stands are. I know where the deer trails are. I know where the rub lines are, and I know where the scrapes are. They're there every single year. But the one thing I don't want to do, and I've learned, is that I'm going to be a long distance hunter. And just like Mark said, you take the phone adaptation, and you're inventorying your deer just like you're doing with your trail cameras. Think about that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a big advantage, and something, if a person does have a place like that and they're not doing that, certainly something to think about, and that'll probably, enhance and make you a more effective hunter.
And I think, I've got to make it work, and proof is always in, what kind of film I take. But I'm going to be in Wisconsin for 30 days, and I'm going to try this in a number of different farms that I'm going to hunt. And, I'm going to see what happens, because I'm going to pattern the deer when he's looking. He might hear the truck or something, but he's looking. Okay, where's that guy? He should be going to that stand, and all of a sudden I don't. And so he's not. After a couple of times, he's going to go, well, what's going on? and literally deer know when I park at the barn and close the door, just click the door, they know I'm there. They know I'm there. There's no question about it. Let's switch it up a little bit and do some in the field. And as we talked about in the warm-up, I had a couple of different brands of optics, and we talked about low light and conditions, AM or PM, because like anything, sheep, if they're pressured at all, they're just like whitetails. I mean, they'll be out, they'll be feeding, and all of a sudden, the last few minutes, of darkness wane away, the shadows change, the sun's coming up, and they're in the timber. I mean, and I had a buddy that got a ram simply because he was there 5 minutes before he went in the timber, or he wouldn't have seen him.
Yep.
And he saw him with glass. He saw him with optics. So let's talk about the difference of like 10 by 40s and 15 by 50s, and kind of mirror or work in what we talked about in the warm up about the differences of our binoculars. We're sticking right on binoculars right now, folks.
So just a quick briefing. If somebody isn't familiar with I guess the number designations, right? So when we talk about a 10 by 42 or 10 by 50 or 15 by 50, that first number is going to be the magnification. So that's how many times I guess your normal vision, the subject that you're looking at is going to be magnified. So a 10 by 42, it's going to be magnified 10 times your normal viewing, and the objective diameter. So I guess the end of the barrel of the binocular of each barrel that on the side you're not looking through, essentially, is going to be 42 millimeters, right? So a 10 by 50 would be a 10 power with a 50 millimeter objective, and so forth. Now, where that comes into play, I'd say oftentimes, people get into a situation where like more is better, right? More magnification. I want more, right? And that can be the case. But it all depends on what you're doing. And like we talked about with the spotters, that objective diameter, plays, an extremely large role in how much, in the exit pupil of the optic, which is, essentially dictates, how much, light is reaching your eyeball and how bright that image is going to be, right? So in the case that we talked about, you had mentioned, well, my 10 by 50s, seem to have, a little bit tougher time in the low light periods. Absolutely true. That is a function of optics. That's just how they're going to work, right? So if you're comparing, a 10 by 50, well, I'll take our Razor HD binocular series. So if you're comparing the 12 by 50 versus the 10 by 50, that 12 by 50 is going to have a smaller exit pupil, and it will, not be as good as the 10 by 50 in lower light scenarios, but you're going to have that extra 2x magnification, right? So, it's kind of that balancing act where everything is give and take in optics. So, a person has to really sort out, where they're going to be hunting, what they're going to be hunting, how they're going to be hunting, what that landscape looks like, and that's going to help them pick the best binocular for them. Like if you're hunting coos deer, like we talked about, tough to beat a 15 by 56, right? Because then you have that higher magnification, but you've got that larger objective diameter that's going to compensate for that higher magnification. So you're still going to, have that asset of good low light performance, as well as the magnification. Again, give and take though, because that's going to be a larger binocular. So it's going to come down to what a person wants to carry. And also when you get into those 15 power binos, which I think this is how you're using them, and even a 12, for some people, those are optics you're going to want to lock down on a tripod and really use your tripod to glass with them, because
no question about it.
Your perceived handshake, right? Like, as you go up in magnification, you're also magnifying how much your hands are moving, right? How much you're moving. If you're breathing heavy, if you just had to climb a mountain and you're trying to hand hold a 15 by 56, good luck. You better have it on a tripod. So again, I can't, I'm a broken record here, but really try and nail down what you're going to be doing first, and that'll essentially pick the binocular for you.
Yeah, and folks, with the higher magnification spotting scope, you can put it on the back of your pack. And Tart Clark from Geneva Park Outfitters, who helped guide me the last 6 days of my sheep hunt, he had some great glass, and he put it right on his backpack. And it was interesting, some of the configurations we had to do with rocks to get it set up right. And so you think about that. Or you could take out a collapsible bipod, a full-size one, whatever you need. I mean, you're investing in a hunt of a lifetime with sheep hunting that I was on, but that holds true for mule deer. There's no way you can hunt mule deer in the alpine without quality glasses. And if you're going to have the higher magnification, get yourself a bipod. Your thoughts, Mark?
No, absolutely. And I'll say this also. I mean, tripod glassing, and we may have even talked about this before, with binoculars, in my opinion, on any open landscape hunt, is going to make you a much more effective hunter. You're once you do it, for lack of a better term, it is eye-opening. You'll be asking yourself, wow, I wonder what I've missed, the previous years of my hunting career. You're so much steadier. You're able to methodically tear apart the landscape. You're able to spot those super fine details. You're going to spot that ear flick. You're going to spot that horizontal line that's slightly out of place. You just become way more effective. When you're in the alpine or, an open landscape, you can do so much walking with your eyes. You can eliminate country. You can, just do it. I guess I really can't stress it enough. And I'll say this also, it's not just limited to, the 12s and the 15 and the 20 power binoculars. If you get a good tripod with a nice fluid head and put your 10x42s on there, you'll be shocked, in the same way with, how much more game you're able to find.
So, you don't have everybody doesn't have to go out and get carbon fiber bipods. There's a lot out there. Vortex has a line of bipods that you can use. And I'm going to wrap the show up here. We got about 5 minutes. We're going to talk about customer service. Here's a prime example of what and who Vortex is. I'm on the mountain, and I didn't camp on the mountain. I came down to my base camp every single night. So we're up there, and as things happen, I had a good bipod. It wasn't very heavy. It wasn't carbon, and anyway, so it was very light aluminum. But anyway, as it happens, sometimes when you got three sets of glasses, because I hunted with three sets of glasses, or optics, and one got bumped over, and it had my 15 by 50s on it, and it went clunk. I went, oh no, and it fell far enough that the tripod was toast, and I'm going, oh no, and I tried to, I picked them up and dusted them off and blew them out and took the little cleaner and kind of tried to dust off the grit and everything. I go, oh, I'm screwed with these. And so I didn't use them for the rest of the days. And so then I went down to base camp, and I went to my buddy and said, could you ship these to Vortex tomorrow? I'll call them when I get back up on the mountain in the morning. And I did. I called Vortex, and I forgive me, Vortex, but I forget the guy's name. But he said, no problem, Bruce. Get them here, send them as quick as you can, FedEx or priority mail. As soon as you get them here, I'll turn them right around and I'll get them back to you. I said, how many days? He said, well, I'll get them back to you next week sometime. I can't tell you exactly what. So this is on a Thursday morning, and they were shipped out that day. And then by the next Wednesday, I had them back in my hand. And so I'm on the mountain, I'm sheep hunting, and my glasses go down, and I'm going, oh no, because I really need them. I mean, if you're sheep hunting or hunting alpine, any kind of animal, mule deer, elk, you need good glasses, period. So anyway, he gets them back to me. And I go, holy fright. And that cost me a sum total of the shipping, and Vortex paid the shipping back. So folks, I know there's a lot of great companies out there, but, they just made me a believer in what they believe in, their passion about taking care of you as a customer. Yeah, I know I've called some other people and other outdoor gear stuff, and they've been wonderful also. But on one company, I FedEx it to them, and I use my FedEx to come back, so that cost me a couple $100 to get that done, just to get a distance and everything. But Vortex did it on their dime. They took a look at it, they fixed it, they made all the adjustments they needed, and sent me back the glasses so I could finish my hunt with them. So thank you, Vortex Optics. Mark, your thoughts?
No, Bruce, and you just touched on, really something that is the core of our company, and that's, our customers themselves, and then, the core of Vortex is, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our customers before, during, and after the sale, and we try to build our optics so they never have to use it, right? But stuff happens. You have, an incident there where a tripod gets kicked over, the binos take a pretty serious tumble. It sounds, I'm not one of our techs, but it sounds like they got, kind of bumped out of culmination there. And you were able to get them back to us. And, when you think about it, when is your optic going to go down? Well, probably when you're using it in the field during hunting season, right? So that's a pretty critical time for all of us. So, we want you to get that back up in working order. And, case in point, you were able to get those back in fairly short order while you were still on the hunt that you were on, and get back in the game and get to glassing. And that's what we want. Like I said, we try to build ourselves so nothing ever happens, but certainly the environments that we put ourselves and our optics in oftentimes aren't the friendliest, and we know that. And, if you're a Vortex customer, if you ever experience an issue, we're certainly going to take care of you.
So, Mark, just close the show and give a shout out to the people who own your company, your customer service staff, your R&D people. Take a minute or so, and then we'll wrap the show.
So, man, it's a pretty big team here, and everybody plays such a big, vital role. We don't like to talk about ourselves too much, but there's a lot of people with their heads down, grinding, keeping the wheels turning. We're passionate hunters and shooters ourselves here, which I think, is part of the reason why, we get it, right? And we definitely want, we want to make good optics for our customers at a fair price and take care of them. So, that's our core, and that's what we're about. And if I'm going to wrap it up, I'm just going to say good luck this fall, everybody, because it is upon us. So it's an exciting time of year.
And Mark, on behalf of Whitetail Rendezvous listeners across North America, thank you so much for putting together a great product. Yeah, there's other optic companies out there. You guys know who they are, but from this guy's experience, one, the quality of the product, price points are right there, and they're fairly position in the marketplace depending on what your needs are. And then the biggest thing, and the cherry on top, is simply they are proven to this guy who hunts all over North America that they mean what they say when customer service is important to them. So again, thank you so much, sir, and I look forward to seeing you this fall when I buy some pizza for the guys at Vortex.
Well, appreciate it, Bruce. Appreciate it. Nope, and thank you, and thanks for having us on the show here, and good luck hunting to you the rest of your fall as well.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you tune in for the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. We're going to have Dr. Sean Tyson. Dr. Tyson is the owner and president of Pure One Products. Pure One products are UV-free and odor-free. You can use them in the woods or in the marsh, and you're going to be surprised at the results. And he's got a lot of great stories how people have told him the difference that his products make. So tune in and listen up.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.